Top of the morning to you, stove minders. It's Monday, February 8th, 2021. The MLB offseason is winding down. Teams are scrambling to put rosters together, and that means deals are being cut. A couple of trades went down featuring names you probably know if you're a baseball fan. But first, Marcell Ozuna, one of the top free agent bats of the winter, is staying home in Atlanta, going back to the Braves on a 4-year contract with $65 million guaranteed. And if you factor in his 5th-year option, Ozuna can earn up to $80 million on this contract. He'll earn about $16 million a year in salary. Great move for the Braves. Ozuna was Atlanta's top free agent and one of the best power hitters on the market. Flashback to a year ago, Braves had given him a 1-year, $18 million contract prior to 2020. For Ozuna, it was kind of iffy in 2019 with the Cardinals, so I guess a lot of teams weren't offering him a multi-year pact last offseason. So he got that show-me deal, and boy, did he show up. Led the National League in home runs with 18 and RBIs with 56. The Big Bear was a big reason for the Braves' success last season. Ozuna is an 8-year veteran, slashing .276, .335, .466. A little inconsistent on a year-to-year, but definitely above average and a rock-hard hitter if you want to dive into the exit velocity and the hard-hit percentage and all that. Defensively, he's okay out there in left field. Not great. Ozuna was a sketchy center fielder earlier in his career. Moved to left in 2017 and instantly won a Gold Glove back when he was with the Marlins. Some people are hung up on the fact he played mostly designated hitter in 2020, but there's a little thing called context, okay? Braves had a surplus of outfielders. They had that DH spot at least for 1 year. They had top prospect Christian Pache coming up. He was an outfielder. Okay, we're just going to move Ozuna to DH. Like, the guy's a slugger, not a pure slugger. He can hit for average, though he's been a little inconsistent in that regard. But he's a really good hitter. He gets walks, too. Let's just throw him in the DH spot. Anyway, as far as the Braves go, they could use Ozuna's firepower in the 3 spot after Ronald Acuna and Freddie Freeman. It was pretty successful for them last year, and they'll have him for a while through his age 34 season, lining up well with the Braves window. All the young talent they have down there in Georgia. Good move by Alex Anthopoulos to bring back Ozuna on a multi-year pact, considering the bats added by the Mets and the Nationals, their division rivals, this winter. All right, on to those trades, starting with outfielder Dexter Fowler going to the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles. Okay, and in return, the St. Louis Cardinals will receive a player to be named later. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I love these sort of deals. It's kind of a salary dump, but not really. Let me dive into this. But first, this is a good move for Fowler. First and foremost, the biggest winner in this deal is Dexter Fowler. This will reunite him with his old manager, Joe Maddon, with whom Dexter had a couple of his best seasons in 2015 and 16 with the Chicago Cubs. And after winning the 2016 World Series, he switched sides, signing a 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Cubs' rivals, the St. Louis Cardinals. 1 year is left on that deal, and the Cardinals will pay out 88% of Fowler's $14.5 million salary for 2021, meaning the Angels are on the hook for just $1.75 million. Great news for the Halos. Their payroll is very high. So a St. Louis salary dump. What? What happened? After a solid 2017, Fowler's first with the Cards, it's been bad. Okay, it's been bad. A .218 batting average over his last 3 seasons, and on base of just .320 compared to his career on base of .358. This guy used to be the Cubs' leadoff hitter, for Christ's sake, and occasionally he was that in St. Louis as well. Maybe a change of scenery to Orange County can help the 34-year-old ATLian rekindle a little bit of his old stuff. Assuming Fowler becomes the new starting right fielder, Mike Trout is in center, and in left field you have Justin Upton, another veteran who's hit poorly the last 2 seasons. And Upton has 2 years and $51 million left on his deal. In case you were wondering why the Angels have such a high payroll with nothing to show for it, it's deals like the one they gave Justin Upton. Meanwhile, Joe Maddon, who entered the league as a top 5 worldwide prospect, he was horrible as a rookie in 2020 at the age of 20. But with Adele graduated, the Angels' new top prospect is Brandon Marsh, another outfielder who was ranked between 43rd and 79th in all of baseball. He tore up the minors. Some competition, young versus old. Angels in the outfield. Yeah. And, I mean, the Cardinals don't save a lot of money on this deal. This was kind of a mutual, like, Fowler needs a change of scenery. The Cardinals have some really good young talent in the outfield that hasn't exactly solidified yet. You got Harrison Bader, who's been really good at times. You have Maple Ridge's very own Tyler O'Neill, who's coming off a Gold Glove campaign. Congratulations, Tyler, but again, at the plate, hasn't been inspiring. And then the Cardinals have their top prospect, Dylan Carlson, who was a rookie in 2020. Also looking for time in the outfield. So getting Fowler out of town opens up the spot for all those young guys. And I guess it saves a little bit of money. The Cardinals added a lot with Nolan Arenado. So this move may be a consequence of that, though it may have been coming prior. Anyway, let's swing over to this other one. I mean, this one came out of nowhere. Okay, this Rangers Athletics trade. It's kind of wonky. So, the Oakland Athletics receive shortstop Elvis Andrus, along with catcher Aramis Garcia, and $13.5 million from the Rangers to cover almost all of Andrus' 2021 salary. And in exchange, going to Texas is DH/left fielder Khris Davis with a K, catcher Jonah Heim, and right-handed pitching prospect Dane Acker. Okay, let's start with Andrus, who was a highly touted prospect out of Venezuela, had a strong rookie year at the age of just 20, was pretty good his first few years in the league, was a 2-time All-Star by the age of 23, was a part of that Rangers team that made the World Series in back-to-back years, only to lose both times. As for Andrus, he never became a superstar, nor was he really all that good by the end of his time in Texas, but his career turned out a lot better than his teammate and fellow quote-unquote core piece for the Rangers, Jurickson Profar. That was a Rangers team that really never came to be. And now, after 12 seasons in Dallas, Elvis is going to Oakland. Make no mistake, okay, Andrus was a decent hitter for most of his time in Texas, not to mention a fearsome base runner. But since 2018, Andrus has hit just .260 with a .306 on-base percentage. Keep in mind he was never a power hitter. And OPS plus well below average at 76 over the last 3 years. That represents a tremendous downgrade from the Athletics' old shortstop Marcus Semien, now a Blue Jay. Elvis is not much of a shortstop glove-wise either. In a way, this looks like a salary dump for the Rangers. And oddly enough, it's Brooklyn picking up part of the tab. As I mentioned, Rangers will pay most of Andrus' $14.25 million salary in 2021. And the Athletics will pay that much again in 2022. And if Andrus makes enough plate appearances over those 2 seasons or in 1 season, which I think he's capable to do, he's been relatively durable, hasn't missed too much time due to injury. If he shows up enough, he will unlock a $15 million player option for 2023. Of course, the A's would never take on so much money for a below-average player. That's anti-Moneyball. Andrus becomes their new highest-paid player, which means that Khris Davis is going the other way to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Khris Crush Davis is fun to talk about statistically. For 4 straight seasons from 2015 to 18, he hit exactly .247 each year. Since then, though, so since the start of 2019, Davis has batted just .217. And what's worse, his power's dipped. This was a guy who hit 40-plus home runs for 3 years in a row. He was a 500-plus slugger. His nickname was Crush. And since 2019, he's crushed nothing. Except against lefties, where Davis's power numbers have maintained, so he may be a platoon hitter with the Rangers. More on that in a second. This is also a guy who strikes out a lot, as in 195 Ks on 1 year. Luckily, Davis is a rental, earning not just $16.75 million this upcoming season. He now becomes the Rangers' top paid player. So here's the bottom line. Rangers pay more this year in order to save money down the line. Andrus will become the new Athletics shortstop, while Khris Davis will be one of the Rangers' designated hitters alongside Willie Calhoun. Got a trade-off between two declining veterans still earning a lot of money between two franchises that don't spend a ton of money. Well, I guess the Rangers have spent some big money in the past, but the Rangers' trajectory is kind of going downwards, sort of into a rebuild territory, whereas the Oakland Athletics are at least trying to stay competitive. They still have a lot of talent on that team, though they've lost a lot of talent this winter as well. Anyway, this trade's not done yet. On to the younger guys exchanging teams. Two catchers switched caps, with Aramis Garcia joining the Athletics. The 28-year-old Hawaiian should be familiar with the area, as Aramis backstopped for the Giants for a few years before waivers took him to Texas. Garcia will be one of the backups behind Sean Murphy in Oakland. Meanwhile, Anaheim says hi to Arlington. 25-year-old switch-hitting catcher made his major league debut in 2020. Out of these two catchers, the eyes are on Heim, who has already shown a knack for game management at the big league level. He was the Athletics' number 9 prospect before this trade. It's a position that the A's had depth at, so they could have subtracted from it. But the Rangers have former top 100 prospect Sam Huff as one of their catchers, so probably not a starting job for Heim, but looks like it could be a good tandem for the Rangers. Texas also receives right-handed pitcher prospect Dane Acker, who was drafted in the 4th round out of Oklahoma, Sooner Boomer Sooner, in this past draft, meaning that the 21-year-old has yet to pitch in the minors because all minor league baseball got shut down thanks to Corona. Just a little something to push this deal in favor of the Rangers. I like the financial circumstances for them, as well as the intriguing young pieces they receive. Losing Andrus at shortstop is no big loss for Texas. As I said, he hasn't been producing that much lately. And they have Gold Glove third baseman Isaiah Kiner Falefa, another Hawaiian, who will likely move into the shortstop spot. And for the Athletics, I have no idea what they're doing. Okay, they might suck in 2021. No more Semien. No more Liam Hendricks. No more Tommy LaStella. That young core of Chapman, Olsen, Luzardo, Laureano, A.J. Puck better cash in their reality checks because Brooklyn does not look competitive. But hey, who knows? They've surprised us before with their stingy ways. Moneyball does work to an extent as far as having like a winning team, just not a championship team. You know what I'm saying? I kind of want to see the Athletics blow it up with all these young guys who I'd like to see on other teams. But you know what? It's what they do. And more on the Athletics. They have re-signed right-handed starting pitcher Mike Fiers. Mike Fiers. Most known as the Astros trash can whistleblower. He's coming back to Oakland on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. Fiers is a down rotation starter. Okay, statistically, he doesn't look very good, though he has found success in Oakland because his particular style of pitching leads to a lot of fly balls, and the Oakland Coliseum is massive, so I guess a good team-friendly move there for the A's. The New York Mets have signed outfielder Albert Almora. The terms of the contract have not yet been released. It is a major league deal, which is important for Almora because he will be a backup with the Mets. You may remember that they were looking at George Springer, but their outfield is pretty solid offensively with Brandon Nimmo, Dominic Smith, and Michael Conforto. However, none of those guys are above average outfielders, which Almora is. This guy's got great range, great speed. He makes a lot of highlight reel catches, which is great news for the Mets because he does not hit very well, or at least he has not been hitting well since 2018, really. Yeah, he had an all right little run there for the Cubs, but recently really, really uninspiring. I wonder how much that incident with the little girl at Minute Maid Park, again with the Astros, got hit by his foul ball. She went to go to the hospital and all that. Never really quite lived up to his 6th overall draft pick billing, but Almora is at least a excellent defensive replacement late in the game, or as a starter in case the Mets put out a pitcher who's really good but does give up his share of fly balls, kind of like the Cubs did with John Lester. Anyway, yeah, Almora to Queens, and the Tigers re-signed second baseman Jonathan Schoop to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. The Tigers have been oddly active this offseason for a team deep into the rebuild. And while they haven't added any really impactful pieces, I would put Schoop in that category. He was one of their better hitters last season, batting .278, .324 on base, .475 slugging. Overall, I'd say he's about an average to above hitter in his 8-year career. He's from Curacao in the Dutch Antilles. Yeah, good, a nice little move for the Tigers. Yeah, that would just about wrap it up. You might be wondering who the hell's left. Justin Turner is still a free agent. James Paxton. Jake Odorizzi. Some other guys. Things are winding down, Stoves. Relax.